Redo of the St. Charles County Caucus, April 10th, 2012.
We always continue to preserve our going out and our coming in. We would ask your blessing on the military. Oh, Heavenly Father, they put their lives on the line each day to preserve our freedoms. And we're so thankful that you have given us the privilege of coming to this gathering with the freedom of meeting together, expressing our views lovingly. And we praise your name and honor you. We thank you for all the people that have made this gathering possible, for the people that organized it and volunteered and served this day to help it be the best possible, and help us each to bring the right ideas that can preserve our country and all the mighty freedoms that our forefathers have done and gone before us, and help us to continue to preserve them for our children and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren and all those to come. Now I would just ask your blessing on each person this day. We all come with different burdens and different joys, but we come together in your name. For indeed, as we said earlier this day, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it, and pray without ceasing, work without ending, and give God the glory for the victories that we can earn. And when we leave and go towards November, help us to come together, work diligently for whatever candidate we choose at this point. But come November, we know that we need to come together always in harmony in your spirit. In your name we praise you and honor you. Amen.
Thank you, Peggy. Please remain standing. I would ask Marshall Voss. Marshall is a Vietnam veteran of the U.S. Army from 1964 to 1991, retired as Command Sergeant Major. After his Army career, he served as a private and public school counselor. Marshall, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Please place your right hand over your heart and your head here. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Before we get started, I just wanted to say a few words about why we're here and what we hope to accomplish tonight. As you all know, the first attempt at a caucus in St. Charles County ended without delegates being chosen. And that's not the outcome we're hoping for this time. We intend to conduct this meeting in accordance with the rules of the Republican National Party, the rules of the state party, the rules that are passed here tonight, and with Robert's Rules of Order. This is especially important because we have more than 1,000 people participating tonight. While it's natural that there will be disagreements, it's always important to remember we're here because we have much more in common than we have that divides us. So all I ask is that we be courteous to one another. All of us are Republicans, and while we may support different candidates tonight, we all know that defeating Barack Obama this November is our #1 priority. So while we may be on different teams tonight, remember that we will all be on the same team come November. If we are all respectful, I think we can complete business of this caucus and get everyone home at a reasonable time. Now, the first thing I would like to do, I would like to appoint a temporary credentials committee that will give us a report. That committee will be chaired by Dave Evans, Marge Phelps, Steve Johnson, and Ann Rohan will also serve on that committee. Also, the temporary tally chair that will, or committee that will initially count the first couple of elections. That committee will consist of Brandy Peterson, Terry Herring, Mark Mesmer, Lisa Sanborn, Ken Tunnell, and Debbie Deemy. So now, at this time, I would like to ask Temporary Credentials Committee Chairman Dave Evans if he will deliver us a report.
Mr. Chairman,
We have validated everyone, and in Congressional District 2, we have 384 validated participants. Congressional District 3, we have 519 validated participants, for a total of 903 validated participants for the caucus this evening.
Thank you, Chairman Evans. Now, at this time, I would like to hand the meeting over to General Counsel of the Missouri Republican Party, Harvey Teitelbaum, for the election of the permanent caucus chair. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will preside over the election of the permanent chair. Nominations are now open for permanent chair. Yes, sir.
I nominate Brett Stafford.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Yes, ma'am.
I nominate David Cole for chair.
Okay, David Cole has been nominated second. Any further nominations? Is there a motion the nomination cease? Is there a second? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. I'm not sure if everyone knows everybody who's been nominated. David Cole was up here. Mr. Stafford? Okay. We would, are there anyone want to say anything about the candidates? We would like to limit this as much as possible, but if someone has something they want to say about the two candidates, this will be the opportunity to do so. Yes, sir.
I'll just speak on behalf of Brent Stafford.
Yes,
He chaired the caucus, St. Charles County Caucus in 2008, and ran a very fair meeting. I was present for that caucus. He knows Robert's rules like nobody's business. So I have I have my full confidence in his ability to run the caucus fairly and with an unbiased attitude.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else like to say anything about either of the candidates? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to say that David Cole is a very fair and unbiased person and would be a great chairman. In 2008, the results of the caucus were thrown out because it wasn't done correctly. And I think this won't happen again. I think David will be a good choice.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just to let everybody know, the delegates that were challenged in 2008 were eventually seated.
Okay. All right. I would like to call for the vote. We will do it by a division of the House, unless anybody has any objections. That means that as we call the name of the candidate, those in favor of that candidate will stand and stand until you're asked to be seated so that those that are tallying the votes can count the individuals that are standing. Okay. First, in the order that he was nominated, those in favor of Brett Stafford, please stand. Those in favor of David Cole, please stand. Is there a teller for 3F? Teller for 3F to go to the tally table. Who are the tellers for, who is counting 3A? Would you go to the tally table, please? Thank you for your patience. Thanks to the tallying committee and to the tellers that were able to get this election over with expeditiously. The vote, Mr. Stafford, 480. For Mr. Cole, 402. Mr. Stafford is the current chair.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your vote of confidence, and I'm going to make sure that I conduct this as fairly as I can. Everyone is equal here tonight. You all have the same rights to address me as the chair and have your voices heard. Please do not address each other. Any comments you make, please address to me as the chair. There are microphones positioned around, so if I see someone trying to get up, I'm not going to ignore you all. I'll give you a chance to get the microphone. I have a hand up over here. Well, no one's required to vote, so I'm not sure if there were abstentions. Are you, the tally committee, you reviewed all the numbers and no sections more than 100 and everything's fine in your opinion? Okay, are you asking for a recount or something, or what are you asking for? The initial report by the Temporary Credentials Committee was 384 for District 2 and 519 for District 3. And they gave a number of 903 total participants. It appeared to be 882. Hold on just a moment. Okay, actually, we don't have a temporary secretary, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that role for the moment until we have a much different secretary. Was there someone that made a motion for a recount?
One.
Please state your name.
Use the microphone.
Can you please spell your last name? Okay, was there a second? Please stand up and approach the microphone and state your name, please.
I second recount. What's your name, please? Adrian, E-R-I-A-N, Boyd, B-O-Y-D.
So last name again, please.
Boyd, B-O-Y-D.
Harvey, I'm going to go ahead and maintain Harvey Teitelbaum as our parliamentarian. Hold on just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and maintain Harvey as our parliamentarian at least through until the recount's completed. And I want to ask Harvey to clarify the parliamentary question.
The motion on the floor is to have a recount, and it has been seconded. And the question is, how many votes does it take? It's a majority vote for this motion as to whether there is a recount or not. So we'll see what the outcome is, but that's the rule.
So I just wanted to clarify for everyone that we're going to vote on now. So we have a motion and a second on the floor, and I'll open it up for debate in just a moment. The motion and a second on the floor is whether we're going to hold a recount. And so when we have this vote, we're not actually conducting a recount. We are voting on the motion whether to do a recount. Does everyone understand that? Okay. Gentlemen, sitting here. What's your name? Michael.
I'm just
Can I call you Michael? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
If those of us who abstained were counted, maybe the numbers would come out and we would have this problem.
right now, that's the motion on the floor.
I move to amend the motion to count abstentions.
Okay, so we're going to, so I want to make sure everyone understands the process here, okay? I'll get you in just a second. Please approach the microphone if you have a point of order, ma'am. Okay. What we have now is we have a motion and a second for a recount. And we have a motion to amend the main motion to include abstentions. And that was seconded. So right now we're going to discuss whether or not to include abstentions in the recount. Okay?
Can I speak to the motion? Against the motion? Just in the interest of getting out of here before midnight tonight. 903 delegates that were registered, or not delegates, but attendees that were certified tonight. If I'm not mistaken, 452 would be 50%. And I thought I heard them say that you were nominated with 480 some votes. So even if 40 people abstained, I don't believe it would change the outcome of this election. And I think that we saw how long it was going to take to have the original count. A recount will take just as long. I'm just speaking for that point from my own personal edification. Only got it before midnight.
I'm sorry, what's your name? Your name, please.
Steve Young.
Point of order, Cindy Evans. I thought that when the original motion was made, in order to amend it, it had to be done by the original motion.
No, it could have been withdrawn by the anyone can make a motion to amend a motion that's on the floor. Okay, one more time.
I call all pending questions. Bob Solondra.
Okay, sir, I want to explain something to make sure that we understand this as the night goes on. We have debate for and against the motions. When you make when you basically get up and say call the question, that's a privileged motion. We have to do a 2/3 vote to do your motion before we do the next one. So I would ask you to go ahead and withdraw that, and we'll go ahead and carry on with your wishes. But if you make that as an official motion, we have to have a 2/3 to carry that out. And that's another election or another vote. So I'm prepared to go ahead and what you're saying, but I need you to withdraw your motion to call a question.
Okay, do what you want to do, but we have at most 3 more votes. Vote to call the question, and then we proceed to the amendment, and we proceed to the original motion. So if you're going to call the question your way, then I will withdraw the motion.
Okay, so right now we have a motion and a second to amend the main motion to include abstentions. So I'm going to go ahead and call for that vote. With everyone in favor of the motion to recount, including, and again, this is not you're not voting to do the recount. You're voting on the motion to include abstentions in the recount.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm going to go ahead and carry out the vote, okay? So all in favor of amending the main motion to include abstentions, please rise. This is to amend the main motion on the floor to include abstentions. We're not voting on the main motion, we're voting on the amended motion.
Sir?
No? Okay.
Excuse me, sir?
I'm going to try to explain this one more time, okay? I'll get you in just a second, I'm not going to ignore you.
Well, this probably, my name is Phil Dixon, and my question is, why are you still up there if it's still a question of whether you're legitimate? Where is the temporary chairman?
Well, because right now, there's
still a question on the legitimacy of the vote.
Then if you think this is an unfair process, I might go ahead and turn it back over to Harvey for this, but
That's all.
I'm not, sir, I'm not trying to do anything wrong, and I
didn't accuse you of that, sir.
Okay.
There was no accusation there. I was just saying for the procedure,
it seems like the temporary chairman would come back up.
Well, the temporary chairman didn't preside over the initial election. It was Mr. Telbaum who did that. So I would be happy to turn it back over to him if you think that what's happening is not fair. But
Well, all I'm saying is that procedurally, it seems like that should be the case. After the last caucus we had,
then,
it seems like
okay, and just because I don't know that I need to do this, but in the interest of fairness, I'm going to turn it back over to Harvey to conduct this portion of the meeting where he's addressing the amended motion on the floor, and that's where I'm going to hand it over to him now.
All right. My understanding of where we are currently is that there was a motion made for a recount. There was an amendment made to that. And where we were when the point was raised by the prior speaker to have someone else preside besides Mr. Stafford, we were voting on that amendment. And the amendment would be to not only count those that are in favor of one candidate or the other, but to also vote on those who wish to abstain. I did not call for abstentions during the first vote, and the reason was because it was apparent that they were not that many in number and it wouldn't make that much difference. My apologies if it caused consternation among the group. I should have called for abstentions. So what we're going to be voting on right now is whether you want, if there is a recount, whether you want to count abstentions. So we're voting on the amendment now, we're not voting on the main motion. So, and I'm going to do this by voice vote. So all in favor of, if you decide to vote to have a recount, all in favor of counting abstentions, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay! The nays appear to have it. The nays have it. The amendment is completed. Now, we'll vote on the main motion now. All in favor of a recount, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay! The noes appear to have it. The noes do have it.
There's always going to be somebody like that in the crowd that wants to waste the night.
Okay, hopefully that satisfies everybody with the vote for the chair. I'm now going to open up the floor for nominations for secretary. And the secretary will keep the minutes and will also be responsible, along with myself, for turning in the final results of the day to the district convention chairman, 2 and 3, and the state chairman. So that's the role of the secretary. So, sir.
I nominate Kyle Albert.
Excuse me, slow down, please. Please say your name.
Joe Wetter. W-E-T-T-E-R.
And that was Kyle Albert. Okay. Are there any further nominations for secretary?
I nominate Zoe Gilbert.
Okay, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Jennifer Meyer.
Jennifer Meyer. And you're nominating Zoe Gilbert?
Yes.
Zoe, G-I-L-B-E-R-T, correct? Are there any further nominations for secretary? Okay, hearing none, without objection, I'll go ahead and close nominations for secretary. So we will go ahead and, since the first nomination was for Kyle Albert, we will now vote for Kyle Albert. All in favor, please stand.
You do it. You're taller than me.
tally committee has told me they're ready for the next vote. So all in favor of Zoe Gilbert for secretary, please rise.
My section will be seated. Thank you.
Okay, I have the results of the election for secretary. The votes for Kyle Albert, 444. The votes for Zoe Gilbert, 394. And abstentions, 37. So Kyle Albert is Just give me one moment to finish right. Okay, the next order of business is for me to appoint a parliamentarian, and I'm going to go ahead and retain Mr. Teitelbaum as the parliamentarian. Does anyone need to hear his credentials before I move on to appointment of the Credentials Committee?
This has been a live presentation of the St. Charles County Caucus on Tuesday, April 10th, 2012. Redo, Part 1. More to come soon.